Santo man kolnyang Mike chol garangawan yubit luping yarul pandiri chet manyel aneke ton nyel jilo wen tona dol Ingulu diyor adenge kik kega buke gade bo dia kui ketingin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madene manja kubur makur kega bolegen kuai zaktian wagare den kegela Emmanuel wena bani
ingulu diyor atenge kik kega buke gade bo baye anyalnya dia kui ketingin
Liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madina maja kubul makur kega bolegen kuai zaktian wakari den kegela Emmanuel wena bani
ingulu diyor atenge kik kega buke gade bo baye anyalnya dia kui ketingin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abraham Adit. To our viewers, wherever you are tuning in, welcome to Lagos State Media Beyond Boundaries. And on this date, the 22nd of February 2023, we have our usual guest, one of the prominent activists, the CEO of SEPO, Mr. Edmund Yakani. And Edmund Yakani will analyze and dissect the roadmap and the press statement released yesterday by the government of South Sudan in regard to the roadmap and 24-month extension periods up to December 2024 and up to February 2025, actually. So to our viewers, kindly, if you are joining us right now, we are requesting you humbly to share this live show on your wall because we will touch a lot of things. And on behalf of Lagos State Media, we have been a bit silent for almost 1 week because we were following up the issue of roadmap and the visit of Pope, of which we'll be having a lot of interviews soon. And we have now started. Mr. Edmund Yakani, as one of the leading South Sudanese who is always at the front line when it comes to the issues of our country. According to the press statement issued yesterday, we have seen Lagos State Media manage to look at the invitation, which was extended to all media houses, to the women group, to the activists and civil society group. And I believe you were one of the members who were present during the press statement. On this note, we are really humbled for you to create time and come to speak to South Sudanese in diaspora and even back at home in details of these documents and what are the hopes for the citizens and what are the worries, because many citizens are still doubting. And as you very well know, we have a lot of Thomases in our country. Unless something that happened, that's where what many South Sudanese tend to believe. But anything beyond public or PR, that is public relation, many South Sudanese tend to give less attention to that. Kindly, can you give us your opening remark before we dive into the discussion of the roadmaps? Thank you, Mr. Edmund Yakani.
Thank you, colleagues in Lex Media, and I'd like to say to all viewers of Lex Media, wherever you are, in which part of the world, whatever time you're in, I'd like to say hello to everyone. As you said, I'm closely monitoring the implementation of the Revitalized Peace Agreement. As you are aware, 36 months elapsed today. So today defined the end of the 36 months, which was given as a for transitional period. but also it was extended by the parties for further 24 months, which we start counting actually from tomorrow, because today is a close of 36 and tomorrow start counting the 24 months. So I think I would like to say yes, the reaction of the public to this particular press conference is mixed reactions. There are those who are positive, there are those who are negative, there are those who are doubtful, but at least it gives a bit of an opportunity for citizens to know. So I'd like to say, anyway, peace is not an event. Peace is a process, and we must engage with the process. We should not give chance for our political elites to run away with the process. The process has to be citizens-driven, and we have seen them releasing a statement that define accomplishments that they have done and challenges they're facing, and what next they're going to do per the statement released yesterday, and they're able to react to some of the doubts that are coming up. So I'd like to say, yeah, in terms of the situation, we're okay. The only challenge we have now is that we have seen incidents of violence happening in Rumbek, which have started. Of course, we wish that that will be controlled, because we want to see again Rumbek back to the media fraternity with the violence. So I think that's that's the situation we're in. But anyway, we are okay. We are fine. After the visit of the Pope, the situation is a bit calm. We have seen President start meeting with IDPs today, and we're expecting First Vice President to meet with the IDPs on Sunday. We will be visiting them on Sunday. So there's a bit of a move. I remember this is since 2013. President is interacting with IDPs, and First Vice President is going to interact with IDPs. So this is a bit of things that I can put them as what we call hotspots or bullet points in my opening remarks. But let's dive to the issues as per your questions that are going to ask me, and I'm ready. And I'd like to say to the audience of Lex Media, thanks. I'm privileged always to be with you and ready to answer questions. And we hope that as we keep this dialogue can help in contributing for the process that will transition our country from violence to peace. Thank you. Over there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edmund Yakani, for your opening remarks. Yeah, basically, as you have mentioned clearly, the 36 months of our agreements elapsed today, 22nd February. And the extensions of more 24 months begins tomorrow, which will be 23rd of February, throughout to 22nd, 2025. Many citizens are asking questions, Edmund, that what will this period do to our leaders to come together and prioritize the interests of the country, which they failed to accomplish for the last 3 years. And on that note, what transformed them to make people believe that in fact 2 years is more effective compared to 3 years? So that is where we'll start our conversation in, and then we'll move into the documents, the details of the document itself, the things that they said they have implemented, and some of them are partially complete or at the final stage, and the things that are in the pipelines, which they believe by the end of 2023, everything will be accomplished, and that 2024 will be a year of preparation for general election. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In terms of the first part of your question, in terms of what miracle will they perform in 26 months that they failed to perform in 36 months? I think in terms of hopes, we'll be having hopes for the 24 months to be a real period of transition in our country from violence to peace if the following were done by the leaders. One of them is really a change of political attitudes. And that change of political attitudes should be linked to issues of, one, gaining trust and confidence. Because what we have for the last 5 years, if I can count, or 4 years, in which part of it is the 3 years of the transition, is a high level of deficit in trust and confidence. And this high level of deficit in trust and confidence have subjected the agreement to be a hostage to the element of lack of trust and confidence among, and mainly the principals. That means His Excellency President, First Vice President, because the absence of deficit or the absence of trust and the presence of a deficit in trust and confidence have made them even to divert funds that are supposed to be prioritized for delivering the agreement is being diverted to certain priorities. Why? Because they don't trust themselves that if they put the funding into the implementation of the peace agreement, they will work together. So the element of trust and confidence between the principals is really very important. And mainly, as I repeat myself, is His Excellency President, First Vice President. They need to regain confidence in terms of trust and in terms of working together. Are there indicators that they can easily regain that trust that we're talking about? Or are there indicators that they can easily sort out the deficit in trust and confidence? I don't think the indicators are very strong, because one of the best indicator that we could have used for them to regain trust and confidence is the incident of where His Grace Pope kissed their feet. And remember, their feet were kissed after they have established the revitalized government of national unity. So after the kiss of the Pope, we wish to see a drop in the deficit in trust and confidence, and to see a rise in regaining trust and confidence for the implemented agreement. But remember, 3 years, there's nothing that has been improved in terms of gaining trust and confidence among the principals. And Pope visited the country. And after the visit of the Pope, of course, we have not yet count here. It's just some months. After the visit of the Pope, we hope that they can regain. So the question is, will the visit of the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury and the moderator of the Church of Scotland to Juba, will that make them regain trust and confidence of working together? Up to now, I've not yet seen indicators. Maybe after 2 weeks after the Pope have left, there's no still strong indicators that they're going to regain trust and confidence working together. That's one of the biggest issues. And one of the indicators is, you can see the AU, the African Union Head of States and Government Summit, which President didn't attend. Then the question people are suspect that if there would have been trust and confidence between the principals, then First Vice President would have gone to represent the President. But one of the Vice President have to go to represent the President, First Vice President. So somehow, like, First Vice President can't move out of Juba, because why? There's not trust and confidence towards him. So that is one of the indicators that really is still maintaining worries about the 24 months, whether 24 months is going to work or it's not going to work, and whether people are going to gain any positive things within the 24 months. That's one area that I like to say in terms of hopes. In terms of hopes that also we can have is that at least the people who are in uniform, in terms of the unified forces, you can see from them a move they're speaking out like, look here, we need a political will, we need a political commitment, we are ready to deliver the chapter 2 in terms of the unification of the forces. But even the unification of the forces is more subject to, based on the will and trust level of the principals, because you can see we're almost going to 4 or 6 months after graduation of unified forces. There's no redeployment. So it means this is the redeployment by itself. It's sending a signal that there's not trust and confidence, because redeployment means losing control in terms of the people in uniform, in terms of security and defense. So there's no redeployment. And we have seen soldiers who are graduated, who are not redeployed, they've been frustrated. So because they're staying, they don't have no jobs, and they have families, they have to take care of their families. So that particular element, it's somehow telling indicators that also the hopes that we have is that if we could have seen redeployment of forces and enrollment of phase 2, those are the areas where we could have hoped that performance can yield something that is more tangible than what we have seen now, that there's no intangible one. So it's really a game of balancing between hopes and worries. If you see, worries are more higher than hopes. And I say it is that hopes are going to merge, or hopes are going to be witnessed until when they regain trust and confidence of working together as a principal, as a parties, and if you can see exchange of task of responsibilities between the principal and between the president and the first vice president, that may raise hopes. Of course, some of the hopes are that already we have seen this change of attitude for the first time since 2013, December, that His Excellency President is meeting the IDPs. So it's for the first time that IDPs have been met now officially. And on Sunday, First Vice President is going to meet with the IDPs also in the church. So that those are some of the indicators that shows people that, oh, somehow something is good is happening. Maybe we expect a change of attitudes coming from the principals. So that is the biggest issue. So without really regaining trust and confidence between president and first vice president, the whole agreement is sabotage in terms of genuine and effective implementation. The other players are really, they don't have a bigger issues with regard to trust and confidence. They can easily move as long as the vice president and first vice president are moving to the right direction. And for me, that's it. And that's why you see the reforms that has happened is good one. And one of the hope that you can see is a very good indicator of hope. It is when the two principals, the president and the first vice president, agree to scrap off the powers of our national security services in arresting people without warrant of arrest. That's a very good indicator, good gesture, by the way. People are saying, oh, maybe this is a good beginning, change of political attitude. Maybe this is the impact of the Pope that now they have agreed, they have reached consensus on a very contentious issue. Since 2015, this is one of the consensus issues. They are unable to sort it out, but now they're able to sort it out. People are saying, oh, this is a very good one. So people are expecting from now on, if they can roll out certain implementation of the revitalized peace agreement provisions, and specifically like redeployment of the forces, calling the second batch for training, reconstituting the political institutions, for example, like the National Constitutional Review Commission, the National Election Commission, the Political Parties Council, and making sure that they work together and having rallies jointly together, and even allowing the first vice president to start moving and start showing his role as a first vice president in the country. Those are the areas of hopes. But if those areas are not in existence, it means war is still take dominance in the mindset of the people of South Sudan. And I think that's really something that we need to take it up seriously, because the challenge is everything is depending on how much the relationship of the president and the first vice president is becoming more positive, and that in the results it gives the genuine and the timely implementation of the agreement. Yeah, so I think this may be my answer to your question. In terms of the miracle, I don't think they're going to perform miracle. Their miracle is based on the gaining of trust and confidence, because that trust and confidence can mean allocation of public funds for better use along the line of the implementation agreement. Then there's this narrative that we don't have resources for implementing the agreement. And one particular indicator that shows that we have resources is the coming of the Pope to Juba. When Pope comes to Juba, Tomping have to witness a new tarmac road in the name of the Pope in 1 week time. So people are asking, where did you get the money for fixing the tarmac road in 1 week time? And it's not it's a very simple tarmac road. Remember, from Kololo down there up to Catholic University, the airport road, and then another one in the middle. So in 1 week time, people are seeing a very quality tarmac. People ask, where does the money come from for fixing this tarmac road? So can Pope visit the country every 6 months, and can Pope move around every road so that we see tarmac roads being revolutionaries in the town? So that's the indicator that we have resources. But the question is the will, the trust, the confidence, and the commitment. These are the things, if they can demonstrate them, then we'll increase or we'll gain hopes that we're in the right pathway. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Edmund Yakani, for your response and your analysis on how the two principles, the leading principles, will come together in order to implement the agreement within these remaining periods of 24 months. The Lagos State Media President Isaac Tiangpol, your appreciations has been acknowledged, and Edmund Yakani has read, and we also say hi to you and appreciate you for staying up to this time. We understand it's almost midnight morning hours in Australia, but you are still awake to listen to our guests. Thank you for your dedication too. Yeah, Edmund Yakani, when you look at the documents for the statement or the press release by the revitalized government of national unity yesterday, it highlighted a lot of bills that has already been ascended by the president, and some of them that are pending to be ascended, and some of the committees or the commissions rather, which were supposed to be formed in the first 6 months of revitalized peace agreement since 2018. If you look at these documents critically, surely do you have belief, or are you optimistic that these documents will be implemented largely, almost 80% of it within this year 2023? Or is it because of political environments, or because Pope just left the country? Remember, when the agreements or the launching of roadmap in Freedom Hall last year, immediately after the rollout, the outline of roadmaps, within first 2 weeks, they graduate unified forces. And after that, nothing happens again. It is stopped at the graduation of unified forces, no redeployments, and even some of the unified forces have not yet been graduated now. Now, after Pope visited the country, and they have decided to actually endorse, and the time of the agreement elapsed today, they are also showing another gesture to the citizens and to the international community And one of the steps is what you have just mentioned. President met with the IDPs today, and the first vice president will also meet them on Sunday. Many citizens are wondering, will this be like a usual game that they played once they appeal to the international community and the citizens to accept their decisions? Then they start trying to choose a beam of light that we are working. And then after 1 month, they just relax and move on as usual. Kindly, can you tell us, according to you, because you have been closely monitoring this and you were one of the signatories to the agreement? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. What I'd like to say is that, one, as you said, is that, one thing that the triggers for this press conference that happened yesterday and where they showed the report of the performance, actually it's a performance report. It's already a document, that's a new one. They're just showing what have they performed in terms of what have they delivered and what are they planning to deliver. Those are the two main outcomes of the document. If you have to read the document, there's nothing new in the document. And by the way, this press conference was not triggered because of the visit of the Pope. This press conference, if you see the videos released by Michael McQuay, this press conference was triggered by the consistent, continuous rumors in the town. And that rumors have challenged some of the political leaders. And I don't know who is behind this rumor, the person behind the rumor. I wish he should be the RGMEC or should be the AU or should be the IGAD. This agreement could have been implemented. So when that rumor came out and the rumor was trading in the social media, and of course, I remember I reacted on this rumor and I warned public that this rumor is not accurate. There's no way again you're going to do amendment to the agreement without triggering Article 8.7 officially. Any move towards agreement without triggering Article 8.47 is going to be. And of course, you are aware of the rumor. The rumor was that the size of the government is going to be reduced, the parliament is going to be reduced, and then the vice president is going to be reduced. So it became a talk of the day in social media everywhere. So the pressure of that rumor triggered the press conference. And I remember in one of the videos, Honorable Michael McQuay have said very clear that this press conference was triggered because of the rumor, and he want to answer the rumor, and he confirmed to people that that rumor is not correct, and they are not going to play around with the agreement as according to Michael McQuay's statement, that they will never amend the agreement, and there's no any more extension, because the rumors was true, that one, the size of government is going to be reduced, and then also they're going to go for more extension. And Michael McQuay responded, no any violation of the size of the government, will remain as it is, and no more extension. So that's the trigger of the press conference. But also that trigger give them an opportunity, came in the right moment, came at a moment where officially the 36 months is ending, and they are start counting the 24 months officially. So those particular engagements of closing the 36 months and rolling out the 36 months force them also to come out of the press conference to justify what have they accomplished. Now, if you see what have they accomplished after the enactment of the roadmap, if you see which is towards December, if you count it like until now, there's a lot of huge deadlines were violated. Deadlines around what? Deadlines around the reconstitution of the National Election Commission, the reconstitution of the National Constitutional Review Commission, the formation of the Constitution Drafting Committee, the formation of the Commission on Truth, Healing and Reconciliation, the legislation on the formation of the Commission of Truth, Healing and Reconciliation, graduation of the first batch of the Unified Forces and redeployment, and phase 2, which are by now, as we speak, we're supposed to see them almost finishing their training. They are supposed to be versus March to be graduated. So if you look at those deadlines, they're all violated. Now, they need to find a room to tell the people that, okay, yes, we have violated those deadlines, but those deadlines that we violated are not part and parcel of the 24 months. That's the message. That's the whole message of the press conference, is that, yes, we have violated some deadlines from the day where we signed the Revitalized Peace Agreement, but those deadlines, you can't count them within the 24 months. So they want to communicate this, that 24 months started from tomorrow, not from today. So somehow they don't say that, look here, even if you violated those deadlines, it's within the spirit of where we are not committed and we don't have a genuine spirit to implement the agreement per spirit and letter within that 6. So now we're starting a new phase. So what we need to see that we raise up the hopes is from tomorrow, what will they deliver in all chapters? From chapter 1 up to chapter 6, what will they deliver from tomorrow onwards? Now, look at 2023 and look at the bulky work that needed to be delivered in 2023 for us in order to have a credible election in 2024 December. The work is too much. It's almost work of 2 years or work of 2 years and a half that they failed to deliver, only to be delivered in 1 year. The question comes, have they confessed to us that they have resources? Still, the language don't have resources is there. Have they shown us that they have political attitude change? We have not yet seen any change of political attitudes. Have they shown us that now they are partners for peace? They have not yet demonstrated that they are partners for peace. Even after Pope left, we wish to see sort of like a bit of meeting of evaluation, the Council of Ministers. Pope have visited us. Let's meet as a Council of Ministers. Let's evaluate the visit of the Pope and let's declare to the citizen what action plan have we adapted from the visit of the Pope. Because there's in the streets of Juba, there's a questions. The meeting held by the visiting religious leaders, Pope, Archbishop of Canterbury, and the moderator of Scotland, they met with the cabinet. What have they discussed with the cabinet? What have they agreed with the cabinet? Because the meeting in which Pope came to address the public outside, in front of the president, this particular address didn't give us the details of what the meeting is, because they almost met for half an hour. Everybody's asking, what are the outcome of that meeting? And what are the Council of Ministers take up as a decision of their meeting with the Pope? Because everybody's waiting. Yes, Pope visits the country, but what decision have the government accepted, or what type of action plan have they agreed with the Pope? There's no any message. The only things that were met with the Pope, Pope came, and you know that the coming of Pope is a blessing. But exactly what have you harvested out of the coming of the Pope in terms of decision that you have made to accomplish? The nation is not aware. So, but what they did as a press conference is not something of that. This is the outcome of the Pope's visit. This is more of like responding to the rumor, and then to closing 36 months and opening the 24 months. So, which is a usual business as well. But if you look at the content of the document, what we see is that we see the accomplishment that they have done, which we appreciate. This the national legislations, which we would have seen them actually 2 years ago or 3 years ago, could have been amended and then signed by the president, and they could have been translated into work. We have seen them repeating the same thing. So if you look at the performance report, if you look at the content of it, and you compare with the statement of rolling out the roadmap, the difference is very, very, very minimum. The difference is not big. The difference is not more than 20%. It's the same thing they repeat in that particular document. Press statement is repeated in the performance. But of course, one of the best part of the performance indicator that if they are going to go to, and I think which is a good one, is that at least there they have mentioned that the president is going to sign some of the UN Convention, the African Treaty, which of course the African Protocol is a Maputo Protocol, which is focusing on women's rights under the African Union. And we have the UN Convention on Civil and Political Rights, the UN Convention on Social and Economic Rights, and then the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, which personally I've been calling that the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability need to be assigned by the president into. And they said they will do it within this week. This week is only today and tomorrow. Comes Monday, they have not assigned those particular UN conventions into a function, or they have not signed them. And they have not signed them as South Sudan made South Sudan as a party to those conventions. By itself is a violation, because they say the president will assign those conventions and African treaty within the week. It means the end day is tomorrow or the end day is Saturday. Comes Monday, if the president signs, it's a violation. So we're waiting to see next week maybe the president will sign. So the culture of violation of commitment is already is a presidency that was set, that if they say we are going to do tomorrow, don't think of tomorrow. The tomorrow is means the other next tomorrow. So that's how it is. So for me, this is the challenge that they have. So there's nothing new in the performance report. What they release is a performance report. And this tells you is until when they change their political attitudes, until when they regain trust and confidence for working together, until when they stop diverting resources that are meant for the implementation of the agreement, they stop diverting that, they will not deliver. And my assessment is that from now until June 2023, if they still maintain violation of deadlines like what we have seen in the last 3 years, the fate of the 24 months that will become a timeline for delivering the country from violence to peace is minimum. So until June, if we don't deliver key tasks, the pending task of the revitalized peace agreement, let's forget about it. And even the election that is going to be free and fair, let's forget about it. So their timeline is that the first 6 months of the 24, they need to do a lot of work. And it's easy. It's only resources. It's nothing. Put money, redeploy, take this particular second batch to the training ground, train them within 3 months, graduate because they are not new, they are forces, train them 3 months, graduate them, and then reconstitute the institutions, allow political parties to register the Political Party Act, and allow political parties to start going to prepare themselves, make the constitution going, roll out the transition, because you have 36 ministers and 660 MPs. If you are to delegate them to powers plus national level, you can deliver in 6 months, you can make a tremendous work. But that is determined when you have the will, when you have the commitment, when you allocate the resources for the implementation of the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmund, for for your analysis on the readiness and how they will handle the agreement within these remaining periods of 24 months or extended periods of 24 months rather. You put it clearly, we have a lot of things that need to be done within 2 years to 3 years. The constitution making process, the reform of the judiciary, and even the census itself, plus electoral commission board. And all these things need resources, but we will see we have resources. But the question is, if we have resources, what always prevented us not to move forward? Let that be aside. Moving to the next questions, Mr. Edmund Yakani, since the visit of Pope to South Sudan, the crisis in Upper Nile region subsided. And we really need you to look into that and update the public on that. And on the same note, presidents has frequently been calling the all-out groups to join the peace talk and revitalize agreement rather in Juba. Now they're moving forward with the roadmap, of which some of the all-out group don't agree with the roadmap. What is their intention? Do they want to implement the roadmap or the agreement without all-out groups, or they want to engage the two concurrently, moving on with the roadmap and engaging with the all-out group? As we have heard from the president lifting the bans on Rome Peace Initiative. And the president, the minister in the office of president, stated very clearly that they will be ready within no time to send their delegation to Rome. This was early of this month. But up to now, it still seems like there is no sign of following what they have said 3 weeks ago. And time is not on their side. Kindly, can you brief us on those two, the crisis on in the country, Upper Nile region, and also in Equatoria, the eastern and the western, and the part of R-ARCSS, and the all-out groups, because all these things need to be under one umbrella in order to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In terms of the deadly communal violence that are happening after the visit of the Pope, remember, on the eve of the visit of the Pope, the most deadly incident is the incident of Kajukeji, which have drawn attention of the Bishop of Canterbury, a Pope, and then the moderator of the Church of Scotland. And it became a big issue until President have to come into that particular issue by forming a committee and by instructing an investigation and by directing the investigation committee to arrest the perpetrators, and the perpetrators must be held accountable. That's President have to respond because of the pressure that comes alongside the visit of the religious leaders into Kajukeji. That have subsided prior to the coming of the Pope. Upper Nile subsided, and if you remember, after Pope's visit, 1 week immediately, the Commission of Fangak, BL Butrus, released a report that the forces of Aguelec are coming towards Jongole, and specifically for sure Fangak and PG was the target that the force of Olonyi is going to attack, and that rumor continued until it went down. But if you see after the visit of the Pope, it have never taken us 1 month. We have some incidents which are deadly, and actually these incidents happened the last 2-3 days. You have seen incidents happening in Tonj, between Tonj North. It have claimed lives, and now we have the incident in Rumbek, which also claimed lives. And I can see you are running in your screen the incident of Rumbek. But before the incident of Rumbek, less than 1 week, there's incident in Tonj, which matched also it claimed lives. More than 5 people are dead. So if you see the communal violence, I don't think that the visit of Pope have contributed strongly in subsiding the communal or the subnational violence. Of course, the subnational violence will only subside when the political leadership take a very decisive decision at the center and make sure that they send forces to the ground. And that's where the element of redeployment of the graduated forces could have been positively in providing protection of civilians as they are deployed. But also remember, the communities that are armed are now becoming more powerful than the state agents. And you have seen several leaders have made several statements. 1 year ago, one Iga have spoke in the Kron Culture Center during an event of the Ministry of Wildlife, and he say the civilians are armed more than the army. If the army want to go and disarm the civilians, they need to be very careful. Other civilians to disarm them. We have seen the administrator of Pibor administrative area, when the AU Peace and Security Council visited him in Pibor and told them in Pibor the youth are more armed than the army. And we have had this, even McQuay, the spokesman of the government, saying the community armed groups are more armed than the government. So the question you ask normally is that where are they getting the ammunitions and the rifles as the communities? This is just going from Juba. Most of them are getting from the stores. So it means some certain political elites are using violence as a way of whether showing visibility or claiming an opportunity of getting back to government through negotiating. And you see the element of Ngok Dinka and then the Twitch Dinka. And remember, it have brought the element of Nuer into it. There one time Nuer together with the Ngok attack the Twitch, and there's a time Twitch with the Nuer attack the Ngok. So that trend of Warap also is becoming more deadly, and those are the coordinations that have been going on. So the sub-national violence is also much reduced. It subsided because of the visit of the Pope, but that's only less than 2 weeks. We have seen resumption of the violence coming up deadly. That's one thing let's say. And of course, the solution to the sub-national violence, to the deadly communal violence, is really redeployment of the forces, and also the state taking responsibility to provide protection of civilians. And the protection of civilians is much more determined by the regaining of trust and confidence among the parties and the principals, because that's why you can use the security agencies to deliver. That's one thing I would say. But in terms of after the visit of the Pope, yes, the politicians are under question. Will they demonstrate change of attitudes or not? Of course, one change of attitude already we have seen the president meeting the IDPs, which we appreciate, we congratulate, because we wish that this could have happened right from day one after the formation of the government. In the second day, 23rd, 24th of where they established the government, they could have gone out there for public rally jointly and do it, and then win the concepts of the internal displaced persons to come and join them. But unfortunately, this didn't went on well, and it was not done in a very good way. It's late now. We are ending the 3 years of the official transition now. His Excellency President is meeting the IDPs, and as I said on Sunday, First Vice President will meet the IDPs also by attending with them a Sunday Mass. This action they could have done. So these actions is a way of painting an image in the eye of the citizens that they have a political attitude change, but this is not enough. This never counts. What counts is redeployment of the forces, enrollment of the second batch of the unified forces, unification of the ranks that they are disagreeing over it for quite a period of time. Those are the things that counts. Reconstitution of the political institutions like the National Constitution, Political Parties Council, the National Election Commission. Those are the things that counts. But what they're doing press conferences never counts. Declaring things that are accomplished long time ago in press conference never counts. So what counts is action. And what counts is that also when you start seeing First Vice President freely start moving, or President, First Vice President start moving across the country and talking to people about reconciliation. Remember, President in his close of the year speech of 2022 and rolling out 2023 say he wants the year 2023 to be a year of forgiveness, reconciliation, and development. And today, when he met the IDPs, his slogan is under the principle of forgiveness, reconciliation, and resettlement. But how do you do this if the security sector is still fragile? We have not seen any so much move in the security sector. And if for other institutions that are political are supposed to do work, for example, the Commission for Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation is not there. How do people really resettle, and how do people go back? So I think for me, they are showing bit of a small sign of change of political attitudes, but it still will never count. The first thing that it will count is when we hit 22nd March. Then we see what happened from 22nd February until 22nd March. That particular period of time is a very key for them for measuring, actually. And remember, they are in penalty kicks. So the first period to kick the first penalty is 22nd February to 22nd March. So they have these penalties. They have to kick from 22nd of this month until 22nd of next month. These are the penalty kicks. So the first penalty kick is 22nd February to 22nd March. If they kick this ball, this penalty kick, if they kick it wrongly, they determine everything. So it depends on them whether they kick it to the score as a goal or they wasted it by hitting it to the air, by not respecting so many deadlines. So for me, that's the first penalty kick that they have to really perform well. And that may motivate, may encourage, may bring hopes, or it may increase. So is a penalty kick either they win the hopes of the people, or is a penalty kick where they lost the hopes of the people and they increase the worries? And of course, I said 22nd February, 22nd March. Over there to you.
What of the issue of all-out group? Is there a move, or there is a will, a political will that being actually showcased or exhibited by the Juba regime toward engaging with the whole out group,
From the
or not?
barandas of power, or what do you call the corridors of power in Juba, that sometimes we pass through those corridors, we're hearing information that on the 8th of March, they will resume the Rome peace processes. So delegation will leave to Rome and they will resume their talks on the 8th of March. That means they may be leaving either on the 7th or they meet on the 8th and then they resume on the 9th. So those days between 7 and 8 of March, there's a rumors going on that delegation have to leave to Rome and join the whole out groups. Of course, negotiating the whole out groups also require a demonstration of political maturity. And by the way, when I call for political maturity, not only the incumbent, even so I need political maturity from the opposition, because also the whole out groups keep on shifting their goalposts. Soon they split to Soma 1, Soma 2, under Malong, under Thomas. Then one group come to Nairobi, negotiate in Nairobi, and then they say, oh, we're going to send forces. Soon they change their colors from Nairobi group, from Thomas Group, then they come to a coalition of what we call non-signatories. Then they come with 3 principles. From 2 principles, they went out with 2 principles, they come 3 principles. So for me, that particular attitude of the whole out group of shifting goalposts from time to time, actually it empowered the incumbent to weaken them. And I'm quite sure that if they continue, this will continue. So both players, both the incumbent government and the whole out groups need to demonstrate political maturity. And the political maturity is that don't keep on shifting the goalposts. The same thing with the government. The government need to know to be restrictive and consistent that this is the way we want. Dialogue, you need to continue opening up and you need to compromises, because none of compromises leads to what? Leads to shifting of goals. Shifting of goals leads to lack of political will. Lack of political will, it means you will not commit yourself and you will not achieve any results. So for me, both players on the table is going to, and that's why I want to use this platform to communicate and to call upon St. Gideon to bring other stakeholders around the talks in Rome, because leaving it to the political elites will feel that they are blessed to be the only solid players to determine the governance of this country. Some of them are not new to us. If we were to open the Pandora box of corruption, some names of them will fit in, whether within the incumbent or within the whole out groups. I think somebody will say, few will say they're clean. Few will say they're clean. Their political disagreement does not mean that they're clean from corruption, they're clean from malpractices. We know them, some of them. Their names are already recorded in some of the actions. If you start counting from 2005 until 12, some of them, their names are dirty in that particular period. So they are, how clean are they now? Have they gone to Jesus or have they been blasted? They're coming so that in the incumbent or in the government, they feel like they own that. I think the question of transforming the situation where we're in, it has to be a really South Sudanese own process in terms of everybody have a tech, everybody have a say over that. But of course, when you call yourself, I wish that I become a general. If I become general, also I start gaining that power, like I start believing solely. I'm entrusted by my title of being general and head of the movement.
And you start surrounding yourself with a lot of soldiers, which you will not even manage to pay them.
Exactly. And I start claiming I have the full solid responsibility to decide on the fate of South Sudanese governance system. Nobody should oppose me because I oppose the incumbent. So for me, both the incumbent and the whole out groups need to demonstrate political maturity if they are to resume the Rome peace process on the 8th or the 9th. Let them not forget that history is following them. Whatever they're doing, we're recording, we're writing. In future, whatever their actions will be subject to be cross-examined, how genuine, how national, how honest they are. So for me, Rome peace process requires from both players, the incumbent government and the whole out groups, to show political maturity. Let none of them not play this game of shifting goalposts from time to time, and someone to be restrictive that, our stand is this, without this we can't go. No, they need to compromise, whether being the government or being the whole out group. They need to compromise to allow the citizens, because at the end of the day, what is it? If we are all nationals, we can disagree, but if we disagree, let us be genuine to each other by having an open and honest discussion, and let us see the bigger picture. Who draw the bigger picture? Even if 2 people against 20, if the 2 can draw the bigger picture, we go with them, because they have drawn a good picture that saves all of us. So for me, that's a spirit that we need to see in the Rome peace process. But as per now, from the barandas, the corridors of power, and the interaction with a few international players, we're getting information that they will resume the Rome peace process on the 8th. But for me, normally I used to tell people that even if they resume the Rome peace process on the 8th or on the 9th, if there's no demonstration of political maturity from the players on the mediation table, it will be as the same as the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. Dragging of feet and too much excuse and blames towards other ends. And that does not benefit the nation except imposing more suffering on the lives of the innocent citizens of South Sudan that are suffering in the hard life that they're in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edmund, for that response. It's good. We are looking forward, and most of the citizens are hoping for the best. And also, most of the citizens lost trust. It is upon our government to build that trust with the citizen within this year before 2024. Yeah, before I move to the last one, I will yield it back to my co-host, Abraham Adin Majak. If there are some questions at the comment section, I can display them, and then you will speak over them. And if there are some questions also in Clubhouse, yeah, we have one question from Joga Jok. My question is this: who has he give the guns to Murley community if that the president of the nation? Yeah, I think the question is talking about what you asked before and which you answered partially before. That the question is who give them army or guns? Who armed the civilians, especially the pastoralist community in Equatorial region, in Bargazal, and in Apanal region? It's the same question, Brother Jock, also posed to you. Because there are rumors that people believe the crisis in Murley and their neighbors actually is not far away from the head of the nation. So I think that is why he's posing that question. Can you answer that? And then we move to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The communal violence that are going on in the country, I can classify them into two types. In Upper Nile region is a proxy war of the parties to the revitalized peace agreement. They sponsor them in a proxy way. The parties who signed the agreement, one or two of them are in a proxy war. They sponsor that element of Nuer versus Shuluk versus Nuer. That's the region of Upper Nile, in particular, Upper Nile state. That's where the proxy war is. The violence going on in the region of Equatoria, and recently, as I said, what's happening in Tonj, it's actually elite-sponsored. And these elites are not simple elites. Normally, usually, I used to tell them that these are the close friends of the president who are supplying ammunition to the hands of the civilians. This covered the incident in Murle land, the incident in Equatoria, especially like the one of Kajukeji, what's happening now in Tonj. And you remember, some of the elites are now start also playing at that game behind ring. They're sponsoring the Rumbek. If you go to this incident Rumbek, it may be some people say, no, ring is now too clean so much. So let's give him another time. Let's force it to go as a revenge attack. So the elites who are profiteers of the violence among our communities. Because I would like to tell you that I get convinced that the actual owners of the cattle that is causing tension between pastoralists and the farmers are not actual those people who go behind the cattle. Most of them are generals, most of them are politicians, and they keep on supplying ammunition to the hands of those pastoralists to face the crisis that they're facing themselves with Equatorians. And likely, I would like to say this also, maybe some Equatorians commanders and leaders will say, oh, okay, since our community is vulnerable, let us also supply. And then they keep confronting themselves. And I'm quite sure this trend may not be far from the truth that actually elites start arming communities to confront each other. And for them, the more the communities confront is a political agenda of accessing power. That's one thing I'd like to say. That's why, because as I said, if communities can fight among themselves for 5 hours non-stop, where do they get that capability in terms of ammunitions and the rifles they're using? And also, if you see the type of rifles they're holding in the hand, it's not something that is old. Most of them are associated with the latest purchase. So for me, that's a question of the elites. Elites are the one fueling that, and the elites in South Sudan should be blamed. I don't blame anybody. I blame the elites in South Sudan. And actually, one of the things that I'm engaged, and I want to use this platform as Edmond, is that I'm engaged in documenting the actual names of the suspects behind this. We already started receiving names. And remember when the Gumurukan became tense, the governor of Jongole denied Jock, say he have a list that he have submitted to the president on the name of the elites anywhere, and they have made a statement. You can go to iRadio website, you can find Jock governor denying a statement. Only name the leader behind fueling the violence. So what does it mean? It means actually the subnational violence will never stop until those discontented elites stop sponsoring it. So there are two sponsored communal violence. One is proxy, and one is elites are using violence to find justification of finding their way to power. And what are they investing? They're using the vulnerability of the communities that their livelihood is so limited. So they want to pull the youth to be linked to them, and they do that. So the supply of these capability to the hands of the civilians for the violence action is not far from the elites. The elites are behind it, and for me, they're the primary people to be blamed for what is going on among our communities.
Yeah, thank you. We have question from Brother Yak Kang Dol. Why the president failed to identify those elites? And before you answer that, Mr. Edmund, I want you to make your statement clear. Are you saying some of the elites and politicians are the one sponsoring all these crises in the country, and are using the crisis and run to the president to tell the president that I know how to handle those cases. If you give me a chance, I'll be in a position to control the situation in my area or in my constituency. If that's what they are trying to tell us, they're using conflict as the way to the throne.
Exactly. Without any doubt, those are my words, and that's what I mean. And even they don't use it they use it as a ladder to power, because you can see some of them when they go for the meetings with the big man, they'll say, "Oh, our community are now violently they're taking away their lives." But when the big man asks them, "Now, how can I find a solution to this particular crisis?" Normally their first answer is associated with them to be coming back to the power, that you have kept us outside for long, president. If you really appoint us, we will handle this issue. These people of yours, they don't handle it. So it means, imagine, loss of lives of people gives you an opportunity to bargain your appointment. Instead of you saying, "No, take this responsibility, so and so, take them to punishment, or please deal with them," you say, "No, take them away from power, bring me, I will handle it." Also, you go there, the same person play the game behind you around that. So that's the issue. This question that my brother was asking, why our president in South Sudan didn't identify the elites and punish them. Unfortunately, 90% of these elites are his friends. And I'll give you a practical example. I'll give practical examples, or 4 practical examples. Actually. Let me give 4 incidents. One, the incident of the Ngok and the Twitch. We are aware of that report. That report went public. We know the names named there. Some of them are businessmen, known, the suppliers of cash to some of the actions. Have they been handled? Have they been questioned? No. Look at the investigation in Jongole crisis. There's quite a number of investigations of Jongole crisis where big names were named, where some of them are rewarded actually by promotions.
Including Unity State incident.
Exactly. Look at Unity State incident of the Mayom. Those ones. Where is the results? Completely. Nothing is happening. Look at some investigations in Lex before Ring became a governor. The names are known. Where are they? Some of them are promoted. They're not being touched. Look at the incident in Nimule. Look at the incident in Kajukeji. Who owns those cattle? The owner of the cattle are known. The names are very clear. But because they're close allies, these are the comrades that they struggle together. How can he deal with them? This one. 2, we have lost the sense of nationalism. We become communities. The moment you touch Edmond, you're not touching Edmond. You're touching the whole Kakwa community. So that's another sensitive work of dealing with these particular individuals. But for me, it requires a political will. You must deal with them, and you must deal with them regardless of their affiliation with the community, because these are perpetrators of human rights violations. You can't compromise with them, and rewarding them will never help. So for me, that's the mistake that the leadership is having, is that they reward these players with more power. The more they're headache, they're brought to power. They stay for 1 year, they're thrown away. Those who are thrown away again go to headache. And this cycle will continue as long as we don't hold these people accountable. So for me, that's the difference, really.
Yeah, thank you so much, Edmond Yakani, for that. It's really very sad that we use violence to climb the ladder to achieve our personal gain. And at the end of the day, lives of human beings is more than interest. But it's very unfortunate. I yield it back to my co-host, Abraham Adin Majak.
Okay, thank you, Majok and Edmund. I want to play a video that for yesterday, Honorable Bukunulu as Minister of Information. So that was the video conference yesterday when they were talking about the the roadmap. So let me play that, and then we pick up.
The queries or questions being asked. In fact, the question which has been asked is only one. Out of the three is only one question. And that is, what happens in case you don't succeed to implement the agreement in time? Will you extend it again, or what will you do? That is the whole thing. Well, in the first place, let me say this. People have been receiving so many wild rumors. And this is the root cause of this press conference. There have been a lot of wild rumors that the parliament will be dissolved and it will be reduced to 250, and that the vice presidents will be reduced to 2, and that James Wani will be going to the parliament, and that the executive will be reduced to 19, and so forth and so forth. There are so many wild rumors around this. One thing to assure you is what was stated by my colleague when he read out the statement, that we are not touching any parts or provisions of the agreement. We are not violating the agreement, but extending the period only in order to enable us to implement the unimplemented parts. That is all. Now, that this is a government of people who have decided to rule. They are not ready to step down for elections. They are obstructing all the time and delaying the implementation because they want to stand again. That is what you have in mind. Let me assure you that this time we are implementing and we are going for elections in time. There is no question of a revitalized roadmap, as some of you have been putting it. There is nothing like that. So if you are ready for elections, be ready for that, because we are going for the elections. On the issue of implementation, yes, we had some difficulty in the implementation of that agreement. And even up to now, the international community is on our neck to deploy the forces which have been graduated. As you know very well, I have been telling the people all the time that these forces which we want to graduate, we'll graduate them with the 6, and we did so. We did so, we graduated them with the 6. Now we are required to deploy them with the 6. To do.
Okay, that is the Ilmon, can you hear me? Okay, that's the video.
Where they, some of them are rewarded actually by promotions. Yes.
Okay. So you hear what Honorable Congress say. So for the last remark, that was so funny that they graduate the forces, unified forces with the state. And what they're going to do with the state, they don't know. I know you use that as the political, so of course the nation's community will lift it, the ban. So can you go ahead and give us, as you are one of the signature of this peace agreement. So what do you think they will reduce the parliament, reduce the BP by president? If there will be a reshuffling in the government or not?
You know, these rumors that McQuaid described as wild rumors. I don't know whether there's a soft rumors. He said there's the wild rumors going around. There's another rumors which are not wild. Rumors is rumors, whether it's wild or black or wild or not wild, is rumors. So these rumors are the triggers of the press conference. First, and remember here, he alluded to it. He say this press conference because they want to respond to this rumor. This rumor is going too much, it's too wild. That's one thing. But also this rumor was not intended for right sizing the current size of the government, because by the way, legally it will be a violation of the agreement if they are to reduce the numbers. They cannot tamper with those numbers until the agreement is implemented. And tampering with those numbers require them to trigger Article 8.4 like the same way how they trigger Article 8.4 for adapting the roadmap of the extension for 24 months. So they have no any legal basis to reduce and to shift the plan move from vice president to parliament. But those rumors are rumors around reshuffles. They are hungry comrades, whether from the Viva side or from the Warrior side or from the Take a Boom side, who have been staying outside for long. And they believe now 24 months is coming. This is the last phase of enjoying the peace dividends in terms of getting them to their pockets. So they have been out for long. So there's the rumors, people are demanding reshuffles. But because there's no any way you can demand for reshuffle, the only way is that they generate rumor. And I'm quite sure this rumor may trigger reshuffles, to be honest. Because some of the people who play these rumors are also within the system. So that's why you can see Mokwe saying, like, I'm responding to these rumors. So I don't think they're going to do really any attempt to play around with the numbers in terms of the size of the presidency, size of the council of ministers, size of the parliament. They don't have any legal background because it's a violation. That's why you see he was saying they don't want to violate the agreement, because if they tamper with the numbers, it's a violation. And you can tamper with the numbers without triggering Article 8.4 by consensus among the parties. So that legal basis, I don't think they're going to tamper with it, and they're going to maintain themselves into that. Anyway, as I said, it is sweet. I don't think that anyone will need to go out of that size. They enjoy it, it's sweet. But what I know is that reshuffles is likely because rumors of reshuffles is going on. So this particular rumor was triggered to push them to that. But also you can see the pressure of panic about the timeline of now until the elections. What is required from them is too much. They can't really take away. They can't do much in this particular period. If we target that in South Sudan by December 2024, South Sudan should witness fair and free elections. There's a lot need to be done now. And remember, from the period is only you have from March up to May, where you can find the country bit is accessible, you can move around. So from May until November, rain is going to increase. And if we expect floods are coming, another disaster, how do you respond in preparing a conducive environment for elections if you have other factors, other shocks that may come and affect the political decision of the government in terms of allocating resources for priorities? That's another challenge that is facing in front of them versus December 2024 as a period for election. That's one thing. In terms of the unified forces graduation by sticks, you know, if you go to the nitty-gritty of the agreement, I'm part of the agreement. I'm part of Chapter 2. Chapter 2, we're not supposed to unify individuals who are fresh, so they come with the sticks. We're supposed to unify people who have been active in the front line in combat. So it's asking, where are their guns when they're in combat? Unless if these are fresh recruits. Otherwise, if they're not fresh recruits, there's no need for you to say, we got them with the sticks. Why are you hiding the rivals? Why are the rivals that they have been using during time 2013 when they were having crisis in South Sudan? So the question is that the people who came, and either they're not real people, they're civilians, or they're fake individuals. They're not the actual individuals. That means they're hiding the actual individuals who carry guns, because that's it. So let's come to the arms embargo. The lifting of the arms embargo, they're given clear indicators in clear conditions that if you don't deliver these conditions, we can't lift it. It's very clear, the message to the leadership. And part of the indicators for lifting them is that graduate, redeploy, unify the ranks, restructured your security and defense sector. They are unable to restructure it. They have disputes. That could have been, for example, if they would have graduated and then they redeploy them with the sticks, and after deploying with the sticks, they restructure their ranking, they meet the standards required by the agreement, they could have been lifted. This is one. Two, if you look at the resolutions of the arms embargo, Section 5 have given an opportunity that the government can order capability, as long as this capability is within the concept of building a unified forces to increase the state capability in providing protection of civilians. They're not been denied completely. They are given an opportunity to buy, to purchase, but in the sense that that is within the concept of increasing the state capacity to increase protection of civilians. But if you see right now, the state actions and the state's capacity towards increasing protection of civilians is completely zero. Okay, you graduate them with the sticks, redeploy them with their sticks. That somehow you may win sympathy that, okay, you are clean, and let them with their sticks face the risk. This one too. Where are all those who have been collected during this moment? Where did you put them? You didn't register them, you didn't destroy them, you have gone public. The one collected, and there's a numbers in thousands that we have been seen be displayed in several media outlets. Where have they put them? If you store them, why don't you use them? What do you use them to replace the sticks with, and you get them in? So for me, there are facts that completely cannot convince the reasoning that sticks are the reasons why we delayed the redeployment. That's not accurate, because you have facts on the table that disputed the concept that, we can't redeploy because they're holding sticks. You have thousands. If you go to the media right now, you can harvest number of rivals that were collected through disarmament. If you start from 2011 until now, even bigger than the number of what is required to be graduated and redeployed from both sectors, defense and security. So for me, facts are there on the table that international community is holding the leaders of South Sudan that don't lie to us. We know you have the capability, but simply you don't have the will and you don't have the commitment. And the truth is that our leaders doesn't have political commitment, and their political attitude have not been changed of working together as a partners for peaceful delivery in the country. If they change that, they can do miracle in a day. So the question is, the will for doing a miracle, for transforming the country from violence to peace is not yet in their hearts. So they need to change their political attitudes. They need to work as leaders, and they need to confront the reality, and they need to make sure that under their leadership, history is registered either they have failed or they have succeeded in transforming the situation from violence to peace. Thank you over there.
Thank you, Edmond. Actually, the video which was played by Abraham Adit, okay, it seems like there is a question here from my brother Akwat Achek. If the graduate forces with a stick and yet communities are armed to teeth, where does these communities get their arms and ammunition if there are guns and ammunition in Juba? Can you please highlight these questions? Yeah, actually, the same thing that I was about to echo and also to pose a bit. The clip actually sometimes it makes you laugh and sometimes make you like Honorable Mokwe is too loyal to the extent he cannot even see the other side of the coin. He says when it comes to the issue of reducing the government, then we cannot violate the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot violate the agreements when it comes to the reductions of the positions.
Exactly.
But they can violate agreements when it comes to the implementation.
Exactly. Deadlines.
Deadlines, actually extension and all this. And when he was asked, do you have plan B? What will you do? In case if these 24 months are finished before you implement it, will you re-extend it or will you have revitalized roadmap? And then he said, no, prepare for election. We are ready for election. It's sometimes to make people laugh. But the issue of the stick, you mentioned it very clearly, Edmond Yakani. The former governor of Lagos State, Honorable Makur Kulang, showcased almost 1,000 plus guns which were collected in the hand of civilians through his disarmaments. Where are those guns? The former governor of Warab, Honorable Elena Yang, showcased them in a huge number. Where are they? And if that is the case, can government also, Edmund, as you will answer them together with the question which was asked by my brother, can government also design and come up with the modalities of imposing the nationwide disarmament to disarm all those civilians from 3 regions and give those guns to our soldiers and redeploy them? Thank you.
Actually, if you say they are using sticks because they are lacking rivals, why don't you deploy them to disarmament so that in the disarmament, whoever managed to collect one takes for himself? Saying now we deploy you, go and collect from them and then use it. We register it down. As you said, there's a numbers. The numbers that I have is over 20,000 that were collected if you count right from time of late Paulino Mati from Jongole. If you come from that time until now, if you go for the records of a declared collected arms in the hands of the civilians, from that time, it is in thousands. Where are they? Were they been banned? No. Were they been stopped? No. Were they been declared? Where are they? No. So they'll be recycling in the hands of the civilians. And this provides an answer to the question raised, is that actually we don't have market from outside. 80% of what our citizens are using are recycled from the stores of the government, are recycled from the hands of the government. Okay, forget, let us say some people might have kept rivals with them during the time our struggle for independence in 1983. What about the bullets? Why is a company around here that you can get it? If wasn't, there's a trade going on, illegal trade among the elites who are actually trading to make sure our community. So there's a profiteers of this violence anyway. So what I like to say, the person who asked the question is that the answer to your questions is that The recycling is from within. The profiteers are from within. The profiteers are among the decision makers. Simply they're profiting in terms of the violence, at the same time they're profiting from the violence as a ladder to access power. Until we stop those practices and those attitudes, until the political leadership of the country hold accountable people who are doing those practices, we will never stop the cycle of the deadly violence among our communities. Our communities will continue killing, because some people, actually, if the communities are not fighting, they don't have agenda. So when the communities are fighting, they have an agenda. So when the death of the communities become a political agenda for your visibility as a politician, as an elite, what does it mean? And that's why people are, even sometimes communities that are more peaceful. Look at the Twitch and the Ngok. In history, they're peaceful. What happened now? Look at, there's a debate going on. People don't talk about it in Jongole. This question of Jongole and Jangbor, between the Twitch and the Bor. This debate, nobody don't talk about it, but it's a burning case coming up, where a song was sung in Serikad and 20,000 US dollars was given to the singer, and the singer have to sing new song. And this song have to create an exchange in the media. We have seen the media platform between the Twitch and the rest of the Jongole fighting over that. Look at what is going between the religious leaders, Akurdit and Anur. What is happening? Look at so many countries. Look at what's going on in Tonch now. The new governor gone now is facing a challenge. Ring is now facing a challenge. Look at what's happening in Equatoria. Who are to be blamed on the mess in the country? For me, the mess in the country, I don't blame the common citizens. I blame those who constitute themselves that they are our elites, whether being in political or in uniform. And we have power-hungry politicians who want to use violence as a ladder to access power. And that's sometimes I'm saying, if I'm supposed to be an analyst to the president, actually around him, we have coup makers who are using community violence to overthrow him. This community violence can overthrow him one day in power. It's threatening his image. So actually around him, we have wrong players that are threatening his image, his leadership, and they're digging a hole for him. So for me, this is the challenge, that until the political leadership stand up and confront the friends, we can't make a change in South Sudan, in the image we are facing now.
Thank you. I yield it back to Abraham Adit if there are some more questions in Clubhouse, and if not, then we will move to the closing remark. Abraham Adit.
Yeah, we have no more questions. We can go ahead. So we reach our time limit, so we can go ahead and close up. And before I do that, there's one more voice from Honorable Michael Mukuru, which is saying,
all right.
Let me play that. It's a video, but I would do it as audio.
And it will be reduced to 250, and that the vice presidents will be reduced to 2.
Okay. Let me see that. Okay, so yeah, let me. Okay, so let us. The audio is not playing. So let's move on. Edmund, my last question regarding about R-ARCSS. So the whole out group. So when the president give his speech, he called out again for the whole out group, those of Soma. So to join the peace negotiation. So what they have you know better what's going on. So what is inside? What are they having negotiation with the Soma group, the whole out group? How how do the R-ARCSS, they were not part of R-ARCSS agreement, they will join, they will add them into this agreement, or they will have a separate agreement? What are they doing on this?
First, the whole out groups are not party to the access because they have a political ideology disagreement or differences in transforming the situation from where we are now to a situation where we can describe as a peaceful situation in the country. So that is the difference with the incumbent. And of course, the incumbent composed of the party signatories to the revitalized agreement. So the whole out groups have a complete political theory that is not in line with the theory that the incumbent is implementing now. So what is the way forward? The way forward, you can't call them like you want to invite them just to come and join you. No, they need to sit down with the incumbent government on a mediation table with a genuine and political maturity spirit. And that's why I was repeating. I say, for me, when I refer to political maturity, I'm not demanding only the incumbent. Even the whole out groups also need to demonstrate political maturity because they keep on shifting their goalposts. So what is happening is that the Rome Peace process is the only instrument that can be used under the Committee of St. Gideon to negotiate a deal between the whole out groups and the government in terms of that. But the problem is that both sides, whether the government or the whole out groups, their political maturity is questionable. Why is questionable? Because they have change of attitudes in shifting goalposts. You don't see they have declared declaration of principles. By the way, they have documents. Like 5 documents they have signed. All these 5 documents from time to time does not bind in the negotiation. They'll come out with new one. They'll go for this one to come out with another new one. There's a shifting of goalposts from both sides, the incumbent government and then the whole out groups. So and unfortunately, I come to believe that when friends that eat in the same plate disagree, for you to bring them again to eat in the same plate is very hard. Who are these whole out groups? These are people who completely are part and partial of the system before. They disagree because they know the games they have played together. That's why they don't trust themselves. And that's the dilemma we're going to continue with it between the whole out groups and the incumbent. I know people in the whole out groups that are clean. Few names in the whole out group, but there's some few names in the whole out groups that they're not clean. If you, as I repeat myself, if you come from 2005 until a time where we have crashed in 2013, some of them, their names are already implicated before they could go. So they're not clean. So they know each other. They know the criminology that have been played around. They know the tricks that have been playing around. So they don't trust themselves because these are friends that have disagreed in a play that they ate together. That's a problem. And the only way they can do is that they need to do a political shift of attitudes. They need to show political maturity that how much we disagree, time has come for us to offer peace a chance. Time has come for us to give citizens a chance. Because of this tendency in South Sudan where political elites assume that they own the citizen and the nation. Nobody else can tell them what to do. It's only they, because they have a titles of generals of a political party chairpersons. They are the one who decided. But the spirit of opening up their mind to listen to others, it's not there. So the question of political maturity around the Rome Peace process is a big issue, which actually, even if they reach a deal, they will not be different from there. If they're to reach an agreement, the agreement will face the same consequences like what we're facing now between the signatories to the revitalized agreement, because it's a question of deficit in trust and confidence for working together. So for me, that's the biggest. And the information we're getting up to now from the corridors of power, whether within the incumbent or outside in terms of diplomatic, we are aware that from the 8th of March, they will resume the Rome Peace process. But I was saying the Rome Peace process will never yield results until political maturity are demonstrated by our players who sit on the negotiating table of the Rome Peace process. And I hope that also St. Gideon can open up, for example, like religious leaders will be taken around. People have to go and influence the parties. The incumbent. I remember one time in Addis, when we were in December, the government and the IU couldn't sign an agreement, but we have to come for the disagreement as a different players, religious, and until we have to trade until they sign a ceasefire agreement. After we push them to a corner, look here, your personal interest or your entity interest is not above the stability of the country. The country have millions of lives that are suffering because of your attitudes. So why don't you shift until they have to reach a deal? They sign. So for me, the question is a real question of political attitudes. Among those who sit in the Rome Peace process, do they value the lives of the people who are dying? Do they value the consequences of their actions? Do they value the implications of their political rigidity in compromising for something? You better compromise for yourself losing than you don't want to compromise and putting lives of millions into risk. So for me, those are the attitudes that we need to move forward. So whether with the whole outgroup or with the incumbent, we need a change of political attitudes and demonstration of political maturity. And let me tell you, mediation is compromises. The incumbent cannot go because now we know we are incumbent, we are a government, we cannot be equated with the opposition. We cannot compromise. That's wrong. Also the whole group can say, because we are outside, we cannot compromise because you are the incumbent, you have to compromise. The spirit of compromise is a win-win approach. All of them have to compromise. So for me, with that change of spirit from the players that sit at the mediation of the wrong peace process, we are not going to see any results. We're going to continue until people are fed up of violence, and then they surrender. The only peace and stability is going to come from our political elites is when our political elites are now tired. If they surrender, then maybe we can have it. But as long as their appetite for control of power and resources is sharp, we'll continue suffering under that particular appetite. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Edmund Yakani, for your time. I think if there is no more questions, then we will give you 2 minutes to give us your last message or your parting shot to South Sudanese who are watching now. And we will close our show, while we are also looking forward for the show to analyze the Pope visit. By God's grace, if it happens, then we will also still have enough time to discuss in length and in details. Thank you so much.
Thank you. First, let me start with the show on analysis of the Pope's visit. I was able to reach out to the panelists. It was a good number of panelists. I'm just finalizing. And we have already built up questions that we think the panelists can go about it. We're mobilizing resources to hire a conference hall in one of the hotels so that we have a big panel that sits and speak to Lex Media. And I wish that if there's other media outlets that also want to do the same, we are welcome, because the more we speak to each other, the more we build sense and the more we reach consensus and the more we forge a new thinking, because sometimes we're rigid simply because we're not in dialogue. Dialogue is the only way. So that's the first response I want to put forward. In terms of closing, I would like to say for the political parties that are signatories to the revitalized peace agreement, that 24 months is a time of penalty kicks. They either succeed or they fail. And the determiner is the first 6 months of the 24. And one thing I'd like to share with the Lex Media is that we have introduced a new counting track record. Every 22nd of every month, we want to see what have they accomplished in the months. Because I come to realize that the platform like Lex Media, sometimes it acts as an influencer. It generates pressure on them, and some of them listened and change the attitude and the act. So I wish we'll continue every 22nd of the month. We can call it the roadmap day of assessment or performance day or something like that. We can continue with Lex Media every 22nd month. We don't demonstrate what has been accomplished. Because this question of when come to the reduction of the size of the government, we will never violate. But when come to deadlines, we will violate, because deadlines are not fixed, but powers are fixed. We need to really challenge that particular notion or that particular narrative. That's one thing I'd like to say forward. But for South Sudanese, one thing that I'd like to take this platform and I want to raise it up. Please, please, I'm appealing to every South Sudanese, in country or outside country. Hate speech and hostile propaganda is dividing us. I want to name some few South Sudanese that are really involved in social media, hatred, hate speech and hostile propaganda, that it's really turning image. There are those who will go insulting Equatorians, you are cowards, you are prostitutes, you are not South Sudanese, we fought together. There's this lady going on in social media. Can someone find a way to advise her that she's antagonizing certain section of the community against the other? Can she know that what she's doing is a crime? Okay. There are few South Sudanese in the Twitter, in Facebook page. There's nothing except insults. This will not take this country anywhere. Honestly, I'm asking South Sudanese, can we abstain from propagating hostile propaganda and hate speech? I'm really, really disturbed. And even these days have made me to avoid social media because there's nothing insults. And a specific call goes to our South Sudanese in diaspora. We know you are very far. We know you are in safe world. We know you're in protected world. You cannot be arrested like us here with the Blue House. You cannot be shot like you're going to the streets. The language you're using is a poison back home. And this one goes to the diaspora, right from East Africa up to the rest of the world. Diaspora, we have been tracking hate speech and hostile propaganda. You are really poisoning us. You are dividing us on ethnic line. This is an appeal I want to make to South Sudanese. It has now changed tea places. We are no longer taking tea as South Sudanese. We're taking tea as a community. Why? The impact of the hate speech. So there's these people who are conveying message of hate speech in the social media. Until even some of us are thinking, We may need some, and remember, the hate speech is part and parcel of UNMI's mandate. We are now lobbying the panel of experts. Even if we have pseudonyms, as long as we can have the images, can we start thinking about sanctioning images of South Sudanese who appear in social media propagating hate speech? Because it's destroying the country, honestly. People are no longer living, even I'll tell you today, schools are now experiencing the impact of the hate speech and hostile propaganda. Students whom we think they could have been the generation behind us, already languages is developed badly. So I would like to really appeal to the diaspora that use social media for best development, for the best good of the country. Never use social media for hate speech. I remember there's someone who is making an articles that when the basketball players score goals, we say it's for South Sudan. When they fail, this is Dinka. Who says so? And if somebody says like that, can you go immediately open for him a court case? Then you attacking people. There are Equatorians who feel like with the ends of Kajukeji attacking like as if completely Dinkas are people who are, it's not everybody. It is criminals. That we need to target these criminals and we need to name the criminals. We should attack tribes, we should not attack communities, we should not attack identity. So I wanted this opportunity to convey that the hate speech I'm sending now, honestly, brothers and sisters who are listening to me, honestly, hate speech is destroying the country. You may live in the diaspora, you may really promote this hate speech, you might have a different nationality. You may not have nationality of South Sudan. You may not come to us here, but the impact of a hate speech is dividing us. One day, one time, when you're coming back home, you will find a bonds as a result of your hate speech and your hostile propaganda. You will shed tears when you're told that, look here, the single statement you made have created this massacre and have created these bonds that you see today. Why should you use hate speech as a poison? Why do you throw poisons to us? So I would like to raise an appeal that we need a zero tolerance for hate speech and hostile propaganda. And I would like to convey, how do you demonstrate zero tolerance? Any South Sudanese, if you come across any message that is loaded with hate speech and hostile propaganda, don't share. Because some of us sharing those loaded hate speech message, actually we're spreading them. If we ignore them, they will not find a way of marketing. So the only way individuals should stand up is that if you want to have a zero tolerance toward hate speech and hostile propaganda, don't share. The moment you receive it, delete. Let that particular person, he or she, shout on her own phone and keep it in her phone. The moment it sends to you, don't share to others. Keep it off. Because I think that's the only way. So for me, this is really a big appeal. Because why I'm appealing this, I have seen an incident yesterday in a market. Imagine this is a market. Market could be the only platform that unites us. Yes, government office may not unite us, church may not unite us, schools may not unite us, but market unite us. Why? Because market have link with stomach. I have seen traders fighting because of hate speech. They say, I will never buy yours because you belong to this community, because this community of yours have done this. And I drew close to them. And then when I went, I saw somebody showing a phone, showing a hate speech on a phone, said, is this not your tribe mate? Were they not the one speaking? While that is not the whole tribe. That's an individual that deserves to face the law, consequences, the law they could. But now it turned to that. So please, I'm taking this Lex. And I think Lex Media, if you can adapt a campaign on your running screen, zero tolerance to hate speech and hostile propaganda, in every show, I will appeal to you. Just put it as a signal, as a message, that we are for zero tolerance, so that whoever is following Clubhouse in any platform, let them read that. Should be a constant message, zero tolerance. Can we do that campaign with Lex Media? And even if it means us sending as a messages to various social media, should be, honestly, we are losing our social fabric because of the hostile propaganda and hate speech. That's my last message. But South Sudan is great, and one day South Sudan will be a great nation that everybody will believe. So those of us who think negative towards this nation, I would say, shame on you. One day, one time, you'll come and realize that this country is great and its citizens enjoy the unity and the social cohesion among themselves more than the way we want to divide the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Edmond Yakani, for your well-articulated message to South Sudanese in diaspora. It's very unfortunate that we live in a society where immorality is cheered, is sponsored and supported over morality. It really needs a serious campaign, and we really appreciate your suggestions as Lagos State Media. We will discuss it in the board of directors, and it's likely we will adopt your suggestions in whatever show that we'll do to run on our screen in order for our viewers to see and watch it whenever we conduct an interview. I will yield it back to my co-host, Abraham Adit, if he has something to add on, and then we will end the show.
No, I just want to say thank you, Brother Edmund. This is the wonderful speech in our community. South Sudanese diaspora is very harmful, especially that's the airport clubhouse. If you go to clubhouse and hear what they are saying in clubhouse, the hate speech is real troubling. It's really sad to see. And yes, of course, we will take that your suggestions very seriously, and we will even not even running. We will do a show and invited all the people, especially even the government official. We reach out everybody so that we can discuss about these issues. Because the hate speech, that's one of the root cause fueling a crisis back home. Because they are using hate speech, especially Clubhouse, Facebook, even better now. But Clubhouse is a very worse. If you go there and listen to what they are saying, you will be upset. So, and this is what we want, because they are connected. They take a lot on propaganda and tell to the South Sudanese. South Sudanese believe that that's true. That's not true. Especially we people living in the United States, Canada, and Australia. These are the places where the serious hate speech is coming from. And we need to come out in public, and we will do so. So if we need to do a live show on Legstat Media, we will do that. If they need us to invite everybody, like leaders back home, we will do so. So thank you so much. It's a very serious event. We need, this time is a time for peace. And let us talk the language of peace so that our people can. We see a lot of people are dying every day. We don't need to see 2023 and move forward. Suppose we should preach the language of peace in social media, not like the hate speeches. So thank you, Edmund. We will definitely do that. So thank you. I will hear my comment back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abraham Adit. Edmund Yakani, we really appreciate your time as Lake State Media, and we will always reach out to you in case of anything that we really need more information about it in our country. In the society, when people always sit and dialogue, in the society that progress, compared to the society where people turn at their back and stop talking. When people stop talking, then they start fighting. And when people stop fighting, then you have to sit down and talk. We have fought for a long time as South Sudanese, and it is time to sit down and talk to each other. There was Dr. Martin Luther King who said, we must learn to live together as brothers or perish as fools. We have perished enough as South Sudanese. It is time to learn to live together as brothers. On behalf of Lagos State Media, we appreciate our viewers for your time and for your questions and for your participations always. Without you coming to listen to our viewers and also throw in your questions, then our show will always not make great impact. But because you are always there, we salute you as Lagos State Media. Keep it up. You are the people that push us, and you are the force behind Lagos State Media to invite more guests. And to remind you, if you are one of our followers and our viewers, and you know one of the guests that you wish to listen to, kindly don't hesitate to inbox us the name of the person that you want to be invited to come and talk to South Sudanese. We'll be in a position to receive your suggestions, and they will boost our online media until we reach to the next stage. Thank you so much, Edmund Yakani. We appreciate you from the President, Isaac Tiang Paul. Thank you so much for staying up to this morning hours in Australia to listen to our guests. We love your dedication as the President of Lagos State Media. The Deputy President, Bolmakur, thank you so much for being always there, our Lagos State Media. The Secretary for Information, Gardeng Mabok, we really appreciate you. We know you are up now watching and listening to our guests. and to my co-host, the man who always control the movement of the car, Abraham Adin Majak. I salute you, boss. I really love your dedication, and let's keep moving. We may not create big impact to South Sudan, but we will be feeling like we are doing something to our nation. And my brother Edmund Yakani, may God be with you, and thank you so much. Thank you.
We Santo man kolnyang Mike chol garangawan yubit luping yarul pandiri chet manyel aneke ton nyel jilo wen tonadol. Adenge kik kega buke gade bobaye anyal nyande kuwi kapingrin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madin maja kubul makur kega bolini ken kuai takiam wagare ding kegela Emmanuel wena bani
Igulu diyor adenge kik kega buke gade bobaye anyal nyande kuwi kapingrin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madin maja kubul makur kega bolini ken kuai takiam wagare ding kegela Emmanuel wena bani
Igulu diyor adenge kik kega buke gade bobaye anyal nyande kuwi kapingrin